Julie Bishop has taken aim at bullying within the Liberal Party. The former deputy leader says the allegations of bullying following the recent leadership spill shows the unfair treatment of women in federal parliament. Ms Bishop says the reported behaviour in Canberra wouldn't be accepted in any other workplace.
What a shot, goodness.
And all eyes will be on Flushing Meadows for the US Open tennis tournament this morning when Australia's John Millman takes on Novak Djokovic in the quarterfinals. It's the first time the 29-year-old Aussie has made it through to the final 8 of a major. If John Millman can pull off another upset, he'll meet Kei Nishikori in the semis. So the former Foreign Minister Julie Bishop has launched a scathing criticism of the atmosphere in Parliament House. She argues the behaviour on display would not be tolerated in any other workplace around the country and says the low number of women in her party's ranks is unacceptable. Political reporter Caitlin Gribben has more from Parliament House.
It's pretty unusual for us to see Julie Bishop speak like this because, of course, until very recently, she was a member of Cabinet, she was the Foreign Minister and the Deputy Liberal Leader, so she was bound by, I guess, the responsibilities of those roles that she couldn't really say all that much. But what we saw yesterday was a very candid speech, firstly having a crack at the appalling behaviour, she said, of some of her colleagues. She said when she was running a law firm 20 years ago, she never would have stood for some of the types of behaviour that she sees, yet somehow it's now become the norm in the federal parliament. She also had a go at her own party, the Liberals, for a lack of female representation, Joe, and unfortunately didn't speak too much on that Liberal leadership spill, which I think a lot of people would have liked to have heard her read on that, saying it's a bit too soon to speak on it, but also acknowledging that it did trigger a discussion about bullying, intimidation, coercion and harassment in the parliament. And she touched on Julia Banks, the Liberal MP from Victoria, who's announced she will not be contesting the next election after she says she was bullied and intimidated by some of her colleagues when they were counting the numbers during the Liberal leadership spill. Julie Bishop saying that for a feisty and amazing woman like Julia Banks, saying this environment is not for me. Quote, Julie Bishop says, don't say toughen up princess, we should be saying enough is enough. So now that she's on the backbench, Julie Bishop's certainly having her say on some issues that maybe she's felt pretty passionately about for some time, Joe, but hasn't been able to speak about them publicly. Here's a little snippet from that speech.
I have seen and witnessed and experienced some appalling behaviour in Parliament. The kind of behaviour that 20 years ago, when I was the managing partner of a law firm of 200 employees, I would never have accepted. Yet in Parliament, it's the norm.
And Caitlin, what have some other Liberals had to say?
Joe, there's been a fair bit of discussion about the issues that Julie Bishop raised since that Liberal leadership spill, and just a couple of more points that she made on that issue, I guess, of why people mightn't want to enter politics, why Australians are feeling a bit disenchanted by the whole thing. She blamed Question Time as well, saying that that theatre that we see at 2 o'clock every afternoon when Parliament is sitting, she says is probably doing some fairly decent amount of harm to the federal parliament. She says if politicians are showing each other so much contempt, then how can they expect Australians not to do exactly the same? And as I said, this is becoming now an issue that sort of won't really go away for the Liberal Party. The new Deputy Liberal leader, Josh Frydenberg, who replaced Julie Bishop in the role, has been speaking on AM about this issue.
Well, it's not good enough, is it? And you and I both work in this building, and we know it's a pretty tense place at times. Relationships get stretched, and there's not always good relationships across the political divide. I'm fortunate that I've been able to develop some good relationships across the political divide, and I think that helps keep some sanity in this place. But certainly when it comes to getting more women into Parliament, that is an objective that we are promoting and pursuing.
That's the Deputy Liberal leader, Josh Frydenberg, speaking after Julie Bishop, I guess, Joe, spoke out pretty strongly yesterday about not only the robust nature of politics, but certainly some of the bullying and intimidation that's been going on.